So the words we hear in our gospel tonight probably sound a little familiar. They're very similar to the words that we say every time we gather for a Eucharist service. There's one word in this mix that really gets at what we're doing here, that really gets at what Jesus is trying to pass on with his disciples here. And that's the word remembrance. Now, remembrance is a word that would mean a lot more for Jesus' disciples than it does for us, particularly in the context of Passover. Remembrance, or rather amnesis, is not just simply about recalling an event. It's not just about sitting down and thinking about a memory. It's about living into the past. It's about making that past event present for us now. So those who celebrated the Passover, not just the disciples and not just those who celebrated it then, but those who celebrate it now, it's not just about remembering that these things happened. It's not just about remembering the Israelites and their journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. What this is about, what they're actually doing, is making themselves a part of the story. In the Passover, they're not just remembering their ancestors. They're walking with their ancestors. These aren't just events that happened long ago, but these are events made present now for those celebrating the Passover. That's what Jesus is calling us to do with the Eucharist. We're not just remembering an event long ago. We're becoming part of that event. We don't just remember this event when we gather around our table, because we're not just gathering around our table. We're gathering around the table with Jesus and his disciples as well. We're not just celebrating with each other. We're celebrating with those who are long past, as well as those who are far in the future. We celebrate not just with those present here, but those who are all around, all Christians throughout the world, both far and near to us. When we celebrate the Eucharist, we're making ourselves present in that event. And when we do that, thinking back to Jesus' words about the wine, the blood, pouring out for us, we remember Jesus' death, his death for us, just as we remember his resurrection, in which we receive new life in him. What we're doing is we're reminding ourselves that what Jesus has done isn't finished. It's ongoing. And it's not just because we're celebrating a new sacrifice, that we're celebrating another sacrifice, because we're not. Jesus died once and for all. The sacrifice was made once and for all. What we're celebrating is that work isn't done. It continues because we're living in it. And because we live in it, because we live into those very events that happened so long ago, they're not finished. They're not done. The love of Jesus, that self-giving grace that he offered to each and every one of us, is still there. That hasn't finished. It's not done. The work that Jesus does continues. And that's very good for us, because that love that Jesus has for us never dies. It's always there. And for that we can say, Thanks be to God.